normally the time in the semester where everyone's pretty busy, so I'm super glad that you made it out. And yeah, today our topic's going to be JavaScript beyond the basics. So and just some quick announcements first. Sadly, our in-person meeting that we had planned for tomorrow was canceled. So yeah, I think there were some people in our Discord server talking about potentially meeting like unofficially because student life didn't like accept our event proposal, but we could still meet like unofficially and completely like remove it from the club stuff. So I think Beth was talking about that in our Discord server. But yeah, one big announcement is that we're going to be having our first ever hackathon the week after finals. So that would be May 20th to 21st. That's a Friday to Saturday. And we're still like definitely in the planning phase. We have a lot to plan. And actually, if you want to help out, we're looking for one or two more people to come help us out to plan since we're planning to make it a big event. But yeah, I think later we might end up talking a little bit more about that. But yeah, just the normal stuff. If you want to be added to the drive, message me. We have our YouTube channel with all of our meeting recordings, and we also have an interview opportunity if you want to be interviewed about your experience with the club for ACC's student news. Then message me as well. And yeah, yeah, that's really all the announcements. All the other stuff is just a regular stuff. But yeah, with that being said, I wanted to hand it to our guest speaker who, yeah, is going to be talking to us about JavaScript. Hello? Uh-oh, I think his internet might have. Oh, yeah, okay. Cool. I was about to say, I was like, oh no. Um, yeah, you there? Oh, cool. Yeah, if you wanted to, hello? Oh, think maybe he might be having some problems, but I guess we could talk a little bit more about the hackathon while we wait. But yeah, that hackathon, like, could I just get like a gauge, ha like base when you hear the word hackathon, what do you think? And you can just type it in the chat or unmute.
Marathon. So basically, multiple people competing.
Hmm. Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So those are all good, good responses. I think from my perspective and from the hackathons that I've been to four different hackathons, and all of them have been basically coding competitions where you're given a theme at the start of the competition. So, for example, it might be like sustainability or accessibility. So, some really broad theme that you could expand upon, and then you have usually 24 hours to create a project that solves that problem or talks about that theme. So for example, one of the hackathons that I was at had the theme of accessibility, specifically in gaming. So what our team did was create a program that basically displayed sound in video games as like visual cues. And yeah, we did like in like voice chat, for example, we would transcribe the text, and yeah, that was actually we ended up winning first place in that hackathon. So yeah, that's just one of the things. But for this hackathon that we as ACC's Computer Science Club um, are planning to host, we're going to be yeah, we're still deciding on the theme, but yeah, basically it's just a place where you can meet up with other people and create a project to solve a problem. And yeah, I would recommend highly to attend because yeah, we're gonna make it awesome. But has anyone else here been to hackathon and want to share about their experience a little?
Did Nate just get disconnected? Oh, whoops. Oh, there you are.
I think I'm all just like left. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I was like irate. I left.
He's like, oh, never mind. All right.
Yeah, my sharing back up. But yeah, I think I think our guest speaker, yeah, is back. So yeah, I guess we can go forward with the presentation if you're ready. Uh, Hello, could you hear us?
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so thanks everyone and good afternoon. Although it is good night for me, it is 4 a.m. here. Anyway, it's a great pleasure for me to be here, and thank you all to invite me here. Today's topic, I think I'd better share my screen. How do I do that? You're into a screen or window, I guess.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Let's
I
do
stopped
this.
sharing. So
Okay, let this one. Can you see my screen?
yeah, we can see.
Yep.
Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so first of all, a little bit of introduction about myself. Hi, I am M Shuvo, and what I do, I make websites that are fast, secured, and sometimes they look cool. And I'm a full stack developer. You might have already guessed. So, what are my services? What I usually do? Front end development, of course, and back end development as well, and everything that falls in between these two categories. For example, making your website fast and secure, and just make sure that it actually looks alike in all of the devices, no matter what. And as far as the tooling, languages, and all that matter is concerned, is quite a bit of tools, but mostly it is JavaScript, my first love, and TypeScript and React as well. These are the tools I often reach for, and of course, you can't actually ignore HTML and CSS like stuff when you're doing web development. For the backend, again, JavaScript with Node.js and Express.js as my main backend framework. Of course, you can use other frameworks like Nest.js and stuff, and some other meta frameworks, Next.js and Gatsby. If you are doing web development for quite a bit of time, you will know about some meta frameworks, Next.js and Gatsby, that will let you do the both the front end and back end and database stuff right within one project or even one file, which we will be showing later. And there's GraphQL. I use it sometimes. It's some counterpart of REST API. Cool, and have some niche use cases. For the database, MongoDB and Firebase, NoSQL. Great. Okay, and my little work experience that I have. I started web development in early 2020, right after the COVID-19 hit. So, and by now, I have around 8 months of professional experience as a full stack developer. And just recently, I have founded my own company, codeface.com. It is a code collaboration tool for developers and students alike. You can go, visit the app and create a room, share, do live collaboration with others, which we will be demonstrating in a minute. And later on, we can train the local e-commerce startup that I have been working at as a full stack developer, which I already mentioned. And there's some other project I worked on. This section isn't actually complete. My personal, the process is still in progress, so I couldn't actually complete before the meeting. And I love sharing my knowledge with others. It could be by teaching, by coming to meeting and talks, sharing blogs and all that. And yeah, that's it about the intro. Hope that it wasn't too boring. So let us now move on to the today's talk we have here. So today's talk, welcome everyone. JavaScript beyond the basics. I'm not an expert to actually take you to beyond the basics, but I will try my best to share whatever little knowledge and experience I have. So we'll be talking about modern UI design and the interactivity and all the awesome stuff you can do on the front end, and as well as the omnipresence of JavaScript. There is hardly anything you can't do with JavaScript, and some crazy features and most advanced things in JavaScript. For example, the Promise API and the asynchronous nature of JavaScript, both in the front end, in the browsers, and in the Node.js ecosystem as well. And one of the most confusing things and people want to laugh at about JavaScript, which is the framework chant. It is there is even a joke that says that uh, like every single day one JavaScript framework is born. We'll get into that for and some other cool features of the language that I know and love. And in the end, I will be sharing some of the VS Code tips and tricks I find most helpful. Okay, so let's start with the UI design and the interactivity. Well, when you actually start thinking about JavaScript, for most people, they think it like a toy language. Okay, you can whenever you think of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, you imagine a website with some few divs, footers, and some little animations. But actually, you can go crazy with JavaScript and build anything awesome just without going anywhere. The app I'm using right now, you might have already noticed, it is Figma. Many of you might already have known that Figma is created in JavaScript. It uses web technology like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and see how cool the app is. We all know and love. It is built with JavaScript. Okay, and if you look at other cool apps and website, VS Code, for example, WhatsApp, Discord, Slack, you just name it. All the cool interactive and modern UI design is done with JavaScript, so you can't actually like ignore it usually. So all since I started web development, it was my dream to make something highly interactive, highly modern, and highly real time that actually makes blows people mind. So I don't know if I have achieved that, but at least I tried, which I will be sharing with you now. Let me show you. We have already talked about the app I created. I just founded my own little company, codefish.com. If you visit the site, you will see that this is a platform, which is a code collaboration platform. You can come here. These are the some like homepage design and some features. You have feature with shared workspace, run and test code, real-time video chatting, and all that. So, and when you come to the demo, this is the bread and butter of my website or app, whatever you say. So you can actually come here and write code right inside your browser, right? Right console.log and run your code. You will see the output here, and we have three different language you can use: JavaScript, TypeScript, and Python. You can also draw here whatever you want. There's a real-time text editor. Okay, all of this done using plain old JavaScript, React, and CSS. Nothing crazy. And this is the video section. You can start screen sharing. For example, if I don't know if I can actually share the screen. Okay, so I am now sharing a screen of another screen that is doing screen sharing. Anyway, so and of course you can turn on the video instead. Okay, hope that you can see me. So yeah, this is all. I tried my best to actually make it as interactive and as cool as possible. And this is the demo. When you actually want to create a live session with others, you can just create a room and then share the access token with others, and they will be able to join your room and just do live share coding. It is like doing Google Docs and Zoom and every and some other apps all together. I just conversed it in all in one platform. For now, it is free and open source. You guys can easily come here and create a room and start live code collaboration. It could be some homework, some interview, or anything else. Okay.
Yeah, and
So,
something I should add is that me and Shubo
mhm.
actually ended up doing a live meeting, and we didn't meet on Discord or Meet. We met on this app, and it was like really cool to see. Yeah, it uses like WebSockets and a bunch of cool technologies in the background, and I was super surprised that it was only using a JavaScript because, like, for example, if you resize a certain element, or resize it on the person you're connected to, and it's just it's crazy that you can do something like this in just JavaScript, at least to me.
Oh yeah, really. That's what I said. That people really, whenever you talk about JavaScript and say, okay, I'm a programmer. Oh, which language do you use? Oh, I use C++. I use Java. People will go crazy. But when you say I code in JavaScript, oh, JavaScript? Are you a web developer? Even that's even considered programming. But you know what? Uh, JavaScript is huge. Okay, so let's go to Figma back again. So the omnipresence of JavaScript that I wanted to share. Actually, there is a law in programming world that is called Atwood's law. I don't know if I pronounced his name correctly. That says any application that can be written in JavaScript will eventually be written in JavaScript. And the man Jeff Atwood himself is the founder of Stack Overflow, a little known website. You might not have even heard of it, so I just wanted to share so that this website gets a little bit popular. Anyway, so what you can do with JavaScript? I'm just saying it is great, and all that. So what you can do with JavaScript? You can do front end development, and you have actually no other way of doing it. The de facto language for front end development, right? And when it comes to back end development, you have two options. Earlier you have only one option, the Node.js, and recently maybe a couple of years, Deno.js came in, and now you have two options. So Deno supports TypeScript built in, but in Node.js you have to configure it. But all of the same, you can. They both use the JavaScript in the backend. And for mobile development, React Native and Ionic. React Native is much more popular, and Ionic is used quite a bit as well. When it comes to desktop app, Electron.js. In fact, the app Figma uses Electron.js under the hood to make JavaScript and React. In fact, I might have already mentioned that React also, the Figma also use React. For example, uh, these components are React components, right? All of these, and this is a canvas. Okay, if you it is the desktop version. If you go to the web version and then inspect, you will see that these are React element, and then it is it is a canvas, just it and nothing else. And pure JavaScript, and you are doing all crazy stuff, animations and all that. So yeah, desktop Electron.js, and then when it comes to machine learning, which is a little known fact about JavaScript, but you can really do machine learning in JavaScript. There is TensorFlow JS. No, TensorFlow is for Python. You might already know that, but there is TensorFlow JS for JavaScript developers to do machine learning. There is Brain JS for machine learning. In fact, yeah, some okay. Yeah, TensorFlow.js is really cool. In fact, I tried to get my hands dirty on TensorFlow.js, although I'm not very uh, that much of a good developer in machine learning field. And there is game development. You have Pixie.js, Phaser.js, 3JS for 3D development as well, which I mentioned in the uh, later point. 3D design you can do with 3JS. I'm going to be sharing some really cool 3JS websites that looks like it's a video game, right? And then lastly, video creation and editing. I didn't believe it myself as well, but there is actually a library that is called Remotion.js. You can actually download this library as an npm package and then start editing and creating videos right inside your browser. Okay, it is really cool. It just came around recently. I didn't have it that much time to actually experience it, but it's really cool. There is actually some videos on YouTube. You can have a look at that. So yeah, really cool. Perhaps I should show you some of the 3JS stuff that I like. Okay, there is actually you might have known this guy. He's one of the guy I like in 3D
Yeah,
world.
his
Okay,
web portfolio is so cool.
sorry.
His web portfolio is really cool.
Oh, exactly. That's what I said. He's gotten much very popular recently. Okay, it is just so cool. And can you believe it is just JavaScript, nothing else. Literally just JavaScript. Okay, my PC is too slow to run it. Anyway, it is literally just JavaScript and all that. So I really am excited about the potential of JavaScript. So if you can just leverage it. So enough talking about how cool it is and all that. And yeah, you can actually play it and do all sort of crazy stuff. I know, just to let you know. And there is if you go to the official 3.js, I guess. If you go to the official JavaScript 3JS website, you actually have hundreds of other 3D JavaScript. They actually built an entire city. You remember the Vice City games, GTA Vice City? It is kind of like that. I think it will take some time to load since okay, it is a big website. Okay, but yeah, if you can see, they actually 49%. Should we wait for it? They actually built an entire city in 3JS and JavaScript. Let us wait for that, and let us load that if it loads. Okay, so anyway, so now what I'm gonna do is actually share you some of the cool under the hood features of JavaScript. And we talked with Nathan previously that we actually explicitly want to talk about the asynchronous nature of JavaScript, the promise syntax and all that. So let me take you to VS Code. And welcome to my VS Code. Hope that it looks really cool to you. I did a lot of work to make it look cool. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, thank you. So okay, there is some code that I pre-wrote for you to actually show the asynchronous and promise JavaScript for to actually show that how cool and awesome JavaScript is, right? So what I have here is a log function that actually logs something whatever I passed into it, like the log rate is done and all that. But on top of that, it actually gives you a delay time, like how many millisecond have passed since to actually execute that function, right? And then I have like 5 function, one rate function I have already marked it, so that one async YOLO function, this YOLO is actually dark, and the one sync YOLO function, one green function, and one purple function. And we have one main function, it is like gray, the mama function you can say, which will execute all of this just to show you. So when I execute these functions, is it big enough, or should I just bump this to bump the font size? Is it clear now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like,
clear.
is it readable?
Yeah, yeah. At least for me.
Okay, thank you. So now, right now in the okay, actually in JavaScript you actually don't need the main function. It you actually can run the all of the your program in the global context. But I just thought it will be much or more organized to actually wrap everything in the main function. So what I have here is 4 synchronous function. We will get into the synchronous and asynchronous function later on, but just give me what it is. So we have 4 synchronous function: red, yellow, green, and then purple. And after each of the function is executed, I am logging that red is done, yellow is done, green is done. Okay, so let's run the code. Hopefully it doesn't break. Indexed. Oh no, it's not index. Note async.js, I believe. Okay, I started immediately. Then red took 1200 milliseconds, yellow took 600 milliseconds, green took 1500, and purple took 1200. So let me show you what is actually happening under the hood. This is a mock JavaScript engine that I created for you. You can for you to actually be able to visualize much more clearly. So this is the mama function, the gray function that we actually talked, right? The gray function. Okay. So on the Figma, so when you actually execute the gray function, it is the main function, right? It goes to the call stack here. Now, since it is synchronous, it runs the other functions. Remember, the main function has the rate function at first, so it calls the rate function then, and then it keeps executing the rate function until it is done. It doesn't reach the other functions, right? And then when it reaches, it logs the value, and then it pops off the call stack. Then it is the asynchronous function. We didn't call it. We'll talk about later. And then you call the yellow function. It waits it. It calls it, executes it, and then it pops. And then you have the green, it executes it, waits until it's done. It will not call the purple function, right? And then it pops, and then you have the purple function, it pops. Now you might have already noticed that there is actually some drawbacks here, which is, if for example my green function or my yellow function took too long, it will actually block the other 2 functions, right? Which is not good. But the problem is, with other programming languages you have, for Java or C++, for example, they are multi-threaded. You can have like several threads that run several programs, but JavaScript is single threaded. So how it will be able to learn how, I mean, it will actually block your user experience, right, if some process took too long. So how do you do it? That is where asynchronous programming comes into play. Back into VS Code, I've already created this asynchronous YOLO. Remember, this is an asynchronous YOLO function. So it actually returns a promise that resolves and waits. You might have already noticed why this is taking some long time. It's actually like 10 billion times loops. Okay. So this is asynchronous YOLO function. So instead of calling the synchronous YOLO function, we will now call asynchronous YOLO function. and say async YOLO done. Okay. Now remember, just for reference, previously it started right away. Then red took 1 second, YOLO took 1.5 seconds, green and purple also took 1.5 seconds. Now this time all of the function are synchronous, but the YOLO one is asynchronous. Let's see what happens. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, I forgot to save. Oh, you see, red took just as usual 1 second, but the async YOLO got executed right away. What happened here? Yeah, you might already know about asynchronous programming. Could someone else talk about it a little bit, if you are familiar with this? I just wanted to make this meeting more involved. Myself talking for an hour would not be too amazing. So let it be more involved so that everyone participate in it. Any idea what happened here?
Yeah, they when you set yellow to asynchronous, it basically does the next tasks in the in like the whole queue, and then it comes back to yellow once it finishes executing, or once the other ones finish executing.
Exactly. You get the idea so much. So let me actually go back to Figma again to actually visualize this. Now again, remember, this time we are not calling the synchronous function, much darker ones, the asynchronous function. Let us just do this visualization again. So first off, the main function goes into the call stack, and then it keeps calling the other ones. It calls the red one. This is synchronous, so it keeps calling it, and then after 1.5 seconds, it's done. Then it pops. Now, when it calls the asynchronous function, it says that okay, it is asynchronous. With the call stack doesn't deal with the asynchronous function by itself. So what it does, it kicks off the asynchronous function to the asynchronous task, where it keeps executing, and then right immediately after it calls the green function. So even if my this YOLO task took 10 seconds, the green function will not be blocked. It will be called immediately after it pushes the YOLO function to the asynchronous task queue, right? And then it keeps calling here, it does its job and it does its job. So JavaScript is single threaded, but mythically single threaded. It actually, with the idea of this event loop and asynchronous programming, you can actually spawn hundreds upon thousands of asynchronous task in the background. So it doesn't matter if you are using one single thread in the background, you are running thousands of tasks. That is what at the core of it that makes JavaScript really cool. Okay. So and then since these are synchronous, it will keep calling it. Then when it's done, it pops off, and then it calls it, and then it pops off. Okay. So this is what you just saw here. You see, it started right away. Red, it blocked all of these three functions until red is done. But when it comes to the async YOLO, it didn't block. It just took 0 millisecond. Like immediately popped off the call stack and then called this other one. So even if my YOLO function took too long, it will not block the other ones because it is asynchronous. Now, you might already have any question here? Daniel cannot. Some question maybe. I got some question. Anyone have any question? What I just said? Feel free.
I think Daniel asked,
Yeah.
are you saying that the async task uses available resources when primary threads are not active, or extra background resources dedicated to async tasks?
No. It is actually not that. Uh, where do I get the message? Okay, sorry, I'm not familiar with the JS. Are you saying that async task uses available resources when primary threads are not active? No. It doesn't matter whether the primary threads are active or not. It will use the other resources to run its task. I mean, if your like CPU can handle that is not a fault in the programming language itself, right? It what its job, the JavaScript engine, what its job is to kick off the process to another to other threads, and it runs on the main thread, and then it use other resources. If your CPU can provide you the resources, that is something else, but that's not the fault in the language, right? It is your system inefficiency. But what this actually does, just as I said, it whenever it sees something asynchronous, that the call stack doesn't deal with it itself all by itself. It kicks off the process in the background, and then it does its job, the call stack does its job, and then the asynchronous process is run like you can mythically things like it's a virtual threads or something like that. Okay. Oh yeah. Thanks, it makes sense. Anyway, so now you know why it is so cool. You might be burning to ask another question. Okay, it's cool that asynchronous programming is it doesn't block the main thread, but since this thing, why don't I do that? Okay, since this thing is actually running in another thread or in the background, how do I catch its value? Right, it is not in the main thread. You don't actually return. It is not like in your usual synchronous code that you just call it return the value. How do you handle asynchronous code, and what happens when it breaks, when it errors out? What do you do? So that is where the syntax of promise comes into play. When you actually call an async function, asynchronous function are basically promise based. Excuse me. They're actually promise based. So what you can do, you can chain it dot then. So it is literally English, right? When the function is done, then do this. So the then takes a callback that actually gives you a value, and then oh, by the way, this is just arrow function syntax. If you're not familiar with it, we can talk about it later on. So then you can actually log the value, right? Right. And if you noticed, I'm actually returning whenever this function is done, I'm returning asynchronous task done. So let's see what happens when I actually do this. Run it again. Start right away. The rate took 1 second. Hulu didn't took any time. But there is something interesting. You see, asynchronous tasks did took 1 seconds. Okay, but it didn't block the other functions. You see how cool that is. Just imagine what if it was synchronous and then it took like 5 seconds. You would have to wait for it to finish before you can move on to other functions. But now it is running in the background. Even if you have, like, for example, let me show it, multiple of these functions. Okay, and call it you see, this one took 3 seconds, and of course these are just accumulated value that came here. Even though it took 3 seconds, it didn't have to wait for it ran in the background. How cool. And now, and that's how you actually get the value out of it. But there's another question. What happens usually, why you do asynchronous programming? Most of the times you fetch something out of an API, and if you use browser, if you work in the JavaScript world, you know APIs in fetching data. So oh yeah, exactly, it is really super cool when you're fetching the data. But what if I did wanted to wait for this function to finish before I call this function? For example, I know for synchronous function you don't need to bother. It will by itself wait for this function to finish before it reaches this function. But for asynchronous functions, you don't actually wait for this function to finish. But what if you do want to wait for this function? How do you do? So what you do usually, let's just remove all of this. Okay, you chain a dot function here, and then when it happens, you log it, right? You log it, and then you pull all of this code here. But it doesn't look that much great, right? JavaScript is all about coolness. That is, I believe, since it is still some callback. I mean, previous, when there was no promise, it was like callback function. If you've seen some code like that, like a Christmas tree hail, they say callback hail, they say. Okay, that is really awful code. So this doesn't look that much great either. So that is where the async await syntax comes into play. So you don't actually need this then callback or anything like that. You keep your all the code just like as it is. You just put the await syntax in front of it. Okay, and that makes your code asynchronous code read like synchronous. And of course, if you want to catch the value that this function returns, you can save it in a value like that. Okay, and then just log the value, right? It now now what it will do, if I call it started right away, then 1 second, then it this time it did took 1 seconds or 1.5 seconds because we are awaiting this asynchronous task. Okay, now there is another problem. I mean, when you are doing with it is the most advanced feature of JavaScript, so there is so much edge cases and even corner cases, right? So there is another problem. For example, say I want this green function, I want this green function to wait for the async YOLO function but not the purple function. It happens. You are calling an API, fetch API, maybe some user data, you want to block one function, you want to wait for one function but not the other function. I mean, I want to run purple function immediately and not wait for the YOLO, but I do want to wait for the YOLO function before I reach green function. How do you do that? Any idea?
So you want to call the purple function like first?
No, maybe yeah, that could be, but say that you will have to do it later on, or some other cases. There are some just imagine. I mean, it is not like done with it. Yeah, you could have done that, but imagine you will have to call it later on, or there is some other async task you can't wait for it. Any other idea? I'm just making you guys involved in here.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, move purple up and then dot, then it is okay, but we are then going back to the older syntax of dot. Then what you can do is actually call another function, like say just call this function. Okay, you can do another function that is async function. Async function, uh, and then you all of this here. Okay, oh, I can actually call it function like that, maybe async function. Async function. Okay, and then you call this function here. So in this simple example, you can actually take this and put this on the top, but in reality, in much more complicated manner, you actually don't have that flexibility, right? So what you can do, you can actually spawn another asynchronous function that will wrap all of your other asynchronous function, like a one block of asynchronous code that is running also other asynchronous function, right? So now what happens, let me pt this up. Okay, now it will call this function just as usual and will not wait for it, and then it will call the purple function. But here I'm waiting for the YOLO function before I'm waiting for the YOLO function before I call the green function. Okay, so this is much like the syntactic issue that JavaScript provides. You don't actually need to get back to the other older syntax like dot then or say callback e, which is not great, which is not that great. Okay, so this is a couple of examples that I wanted to show you about the asynchronous programming, but there is actually a lot more involved in it, especially when it comes to error handling, which I will give you some real world example in a few minutes. So if you have any questions, what we have talked so far, you can. No questions? Shall we run it? Just as we talked, it start right away and then wait for the wait, and then async YOLO. I mean, async YOLO is this one here. This function say it kicks off the process immediately, and then purple works, and then you here wait for the async value, then log in the value asynchronous test done, and then the green also done in 2 seconds. So this is much more cleaner and concise syntax to actually work with asynchronous programming. But there's, as I said, a lot more involved. You can, I have just showed you how to do the after creating the promise function, how you handle promise function. I haven't seen the how you create promise functions. Actually, there's a numerous way of creating it. You can actually promise dot resolve and then create a promise after resolving it. Oh, oops. And then there is other new promise syntax which I will give you some real world example. So if you have no questions, we can actually move forward with my other examples. Update function. All right. So this is the actual code base from my company, and I think, and here, this is the function that actually lets the admin to upload images and products to the databases. Okay, so what I'm doing here, you can see there's a lot more involved, and you might be asking where I'm doing the uh, wait a moment, where is that? In the product section, I guess. JavaScript giving me some error. Product form, I guess. So this update function actually taking this product form, and then here this is the error handler. I am wrapping this function. What you will often see people doing, like wrapping their function in a try catch block like that. You have seen that, you have used try catch before? Anyone use try
Yeah.
catch other than Nathan?
Hmm.
Yeah, I've used try catch as well.
Try except in Python, right?
Yeah, it's like
Okay,
basically
so
error handling.
yeah, error handling. So there is actually much better way of doing it in JavaScript. I can't
Is it like the dot then?
dot no dot then is not for caching error. Dot then is for like
Like the
the
promises,
chaining
right?
your promises. Okay, chaining your promises. What you can do is dot catch, maybe what you actually wanted to say.
Yeah. What I usually do
As
is dot then and then dot catch.
dot then and dot catch, exactly. But even that has some edge cases. For example, this function is too big. You see, if you wrap this in a try catch, you'd get lost. And try catch, and also if you are familiar with much more advanced JavaScript topic, for example, is scoping. This late and constant block is scoped. I will not get into these are much more much. This is not what we're talking about here. But when you do something like try catch, and you put all of this code inside the block, you can't actually like access any of the variables outside of this of that block. So that is one of the disadvantages try catch have, especially if you have long and very big asynchronous function. Okay, so how do you do it? What I like to do, is it readable or I need to big? Can you read my code? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I usually do, I wrap my asynchronous function, my unsafe asynchronous function. It is unsafe. Like if something happens, it may break my production, right? So what I do before, if you're familiar with React, yeah, you have an on submit event handler, and you pass a function, the callback function. But if I, instead of directly passing the asynchronous function as the callback, I am wrapping that function inside an error handler. So you might be asking, what does that error handler does? Maybe this one, yeah. So this is a crazy looking error handler function that, oh shit. Uh, so this is the error handler function I have here. So anyone, so if you are anyone familiar here with the what does it say? Higher order functions in JavaScript. Higher order functions or closers. Anyone?
No.
Uh, Daniel Kamat. Yes, could you please explain a bit what higher order functions is in JavaScript? Come on, guys! I wanted you to be involved in here. I mean, so that the meeting actually feels much more involved, and you know, only two guys are talking. Oh, it's all right. At least okay. So
Yeah, I don't
these are
know.
okay, no problem. These are actually so too big topic to actually even just to talk about higher order functions or promises will take hours. Okay, so anyway, I will do my best to explain it within the short amount of time. So what a higher order function does is it takes a function and do something with that function, either modifies it or anything, and then returns another function that will then call. It will get crazy, right? Let me give you an example. I mean, if this is done in arrow function, right? So if I make it simpler and write in the regular function, it will make more sense to you. So what I'm doing here is taking a function and then returning returning another function, uh, another function that will call the function with a dot catch added to it. Okay, so this is the same thing. In this is the ES6 promise syntax. Sorry, I arrow handle. arrow function syntax. This is the old syntax. Okay, so what higher order function does when I call this function, where is the product from here? So you see the error handler function here. Oh, I'll need to give it a name. So call it error handler 2. So when I call it, it takes the handle submit function as the function argument, and then it returns another function. That function will then, when it will get called, for example, it is basically saying something like this. The handle submit function, call it dot catch. Literally it, instead of doing what I did before. Okay, but it is much more concise, and you don't need to write dot catch again and again, right? Error handler and then some handle submit, right? So when you do this, it actually returns this to you, which is higher order functions. So higher order functions takes a functions in say function 1 and returns another function that will later on call function 1, and then either add a dot catch to it or something else. I actually didn't prepare any examples for you. I just wanted to talk about the basic promise syntax. It is actually much more involved. So hope that makes sense. Like cleaner syntax. Not familiar either. I'm very new to Java and still learning and solving. But the general base from Python is not that good though. Anyway, listening message. You still don't have access to the. You still don't have access to the variables in that function, though, right? What variable do you mean? Ryan Farley. You mean the arguments? Could you please clarify what you asked? Hello. Okay, I just got another question. What is that advantage of breaking error handling out like that, having to. Well, just as I said, it is a much more cleaner syntax, especially if you have long big functions. It can go hairy at any time. So which one would you prefer? Handling these like 50 lines of code, or instead just wrap that whole function inside here, and then make a simple error handler function. It's up to you. You can do all of your error handling stuff here, but I just prefer this way. And of course, if I want to change the error handling behavior, I can just come here, and instead of console logging error, I can do an alert message and anything. So I have one single source of truth. But instead, if I have try catch here and I have other 10 other asynchronous function, I will have to go all the 10 functions and modify the try catch behavior and all that. So you can see it is actually making a single source of truth, and whenever you need to make some changes or anything, angle does seem nice. Oh yeah, really. So whenever you need to make some changes or anything, just any kind of update, you have just come here in the handler function. You just do anything you like. Instead of dot catch, you can also like wrap this in a try catch and all that. I mean, your basic function is intact. You don't actually, and it is a mental release of mental pressure. You don't actually think about error handling when you are doing a asynchronous program. If you're doing like coding for production, you always have that fear in your mind, like what if it breaks. So that is not good for programming, right? So when you are doing it this way, you don't actually bother about the error handling, what happens when the error comes. So you write your functions like it is a day for you, and then after your function is done, you just create an error handler function, and then call it a day. That's the way I like to do it and wanted to share with you. This higher order function may not make sense to you. It didn't make sense to me for months. So actually, yeah. How long this meeting is gonna be, Nathan? It's already five. Do I have
Yeah,
more
so
time?
generally we have it for 1 hour until like 6, for us. So like, but if people are willing to stay longer, then for sure, by all means, we can go longer. But
How
we'll
much
probably
how,
have
how
to
much
like,
time, how much time do I have to talk more?
I think maybe if you could move on and like if you wanted to talk about some other topic, that'd be good. But it would be like
Yeah.
5 minutes, and
Yeah.
then people who want to stay can stay.
Oh, okay. So for 5 minutes, this as I told you before, this got your head out dinner time. Anyway, but just as I told you, Nathan, before, it is actually welcome. Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure. Anyway, just as I told you, Nathan, before, this is actually a very big topic to actually be able to cover within that short period of time. But
Yeah,
I
for
tried my
sure.
best. Hope that actually makes sense to you. If not, I will try better next time.
No, I think this really clarified it for me at least, like visualizing
Uh,
the call
yeah,
stack.
yeah, visualizing the cost. Oh, by the way, I didn't actually show you what happens after this function is done. It is just common sense and very simple. So when this function is done, it actually pushes this all this asynchronous function in the callback queue, and the callback queue waits until your call stack is finished. For example, this you noticed in the terminal, this asynchronous function, even though it did complete it before, you see it took like 1.5 second, 1.5 second. This took much longer than this, but it didn't get executed right after, like as soon as it is done, it waited. It get executed after all of the synchronous code is done. So what the event loop and the callback queue does, it sees when the call stack is empty. So as long as this main function and all of this is done, and then it pops up the stack, as long as the event loop sees that okay, now call stack is empty, it just pushes it up. And then since it is already done, and what the call stack is do, just execute it right away, and then logs whatever the value is there. I hope that makes sense. And this event loop is just a like little, can I move it? No. Anyway, so yeah, this is all. And I actually wanted to talk about something more like error handling behavior, some of the performance issue that you have with and the framework Shan, of course. I don't think I have much more time. So what I would like to do is share some visual, yeah, VS Code tips and tricks I like. I actually have some ridiculous 43 extensions, I guess 41 extension that I use. So you don't actually have to download all of this, but quite a few that I actually do. You use VS Code as your primary IDE?
Yeah, I wanted to ask something else though.
Okay, sure.
I came in a bit late because I was like coming home from something. I wanted to ask what's your, I know your main niche is JavaScript, but what specific work do you do?
Full stack development.
Full stack, all
Full stack
JavaScript?
development. Yes, all JavaScript. As
Oh wow.
yes,
So MERN stack, Mongo.
Mern stack. Yes, yes, exactly,
I see. Are you React mainly or
exactly.
Vue?
Yes, React mainly. Just to show you again, I didn't, you can actually visit my personal website to get a sense of it. Although the work is in progress.
Yeah.
So this is my personal website that I just presented at the beginning. So front end development, back end development,
Oh,
making
I
your
can't.
website
Is
fast,
it on
secure,
the? Is it on the?
responsiveness, all that. Yeah, and
I
and,
can't
and
see
these are
it.
the
I think the
tools.
VS Code is in the way.
Seriously,
Yeah, I can't, or I can't see it from the from your shared screen.
can you see my
Oh, the
screen?
URL.
I can see your screen, but your screen is just VS Code.
Seriously,
Yes.
I mean, now I can see the other elements, right? Like
can you see my
Figma.
website? Can you see my website or the VS Code?
Just VS Code.
I see your website.
Yeah, I see the website.
Maybe it's updating.
Yeah. Is your internet? I mean, it doesn't seem like your internet's slow.
1 sec. Let me rejoin.
Uh, whose fault? I don't know. Anyway, so
I
when
I really wanted to try out also your room, like your code fizz room, if we have time to just like create a room and see how many people can join in.
oh,
I
okay,
can make
okay,
them
sure.
really fast.
So should I talk about some VS Code or something, or talk about the room? Oh, by the way,
I mean,
okay,
sorry.
yeah, there is actually some quick tips actually for the theme. If you like my theme, it is Night Owl, and these fancy bracket color pair you see, these are actually built-in features. You just have to click check on the, it may be bracket pair colorization and inlay hint, that is called. And one of the most important or like useful function useful extension I use, right off the top of my head, I see advanced naming function. Okay, so what it does, usually you may be doing something like this. So this actually sucks when you are creating files and folders, creating buttons. So what I have is a extension. What I have here, oh, A41, it will take much time. So what I have, advanced new folder, I guess, advanced new file, yes, advanced new file, you will search. So when I just press Ctrl N, it actually gives me option to where I wanna create a folder. So same, so say in the logo files, and I wanna create a new folder, new folder, new folder, and then inside the new folder maybe index.js file, and then hit enter, and then it will create the file and folder for you. And if you do React development, there is some React specific syntax that actually creates the snippets for you. And you might have noticed, if you're a JavaScript developer, you use the console log always. So I don't write the console log. The snippets run for me. There is actually lot and lots to talk about. If you go to my settings.json, the customization I made, okay, so around like 60-70 lines of extra code that I wrote to actually customize this VS Code. Too long to talk about it here now. So anyway, so just Nathan asked, which I will be pleased to do now, to share my how do you create room and all that, codeface.com. Oh shit, did I misspell my own company's name? Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yep.
And just to add, that whole pane that you see that's slanted isn't like an image. That's literally like text that you can highlight. Like it's crazy that style.
Sorry. Could you please repeat?
Oh no, I was just really surprised at like your styling ability, like how you
Oh, this one?
managed to get all those
This one?
angles and
This
yeah,
one?
yeah,
Oh, actually,
yeah.
well, this
Is
is
that
actually
frame of
this
motion?
this is not an image. This is actually like divs in. So let me show you how I did it. It is not something crazy. Okay, pretty simple if you just get the idea.
Is it? Did you use framer motion to do it?
No. I hate using third-party library for simple stuff. Just let me show you how I did it. Mini frame. Oh, by the way, if you want to search any files or folder, you just press Ctrl P and then search for it instead of looking for it. You see what I did? I created a 2D map. Sorry, 2D array. Okay, it's a matrix, and then I am just mapping all over them, and not that much of a big code. Maybe it is for the code editor. It is for the code editor, and it is for the text editor, right? So not just big deal. They are just a 2D map.
Oh wow.
Anyway, so
That's cool.
yeah. So you just so there's the demo, and if you wanna create a room, you just create a room. Say my name, and then hello. As simple as that. You have successfully created the room. Hello, congratulations. So what happens if you wanna do some live collaboration with others? You just take the access token, and access token is copied, and then on. Oh shit. Let me show you on another window. So you visit the website.
Could you send us that access token so we can join?
So you will be joining from here, right? Sure. I did. Join me, Nathan.
I just wanted to mention it's pretty impressive that you're up at 5 a.m. in the morning just to show us all this stuff. Yeah. I appreciate
Did
you,
anyone
though.
join this room? Oh, Nate just joined. Oh, Mary
Yeah,
just joined.
I think maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Wow.
Okay. Also, this is all like this is all responsive and all that. If you wanna like, you can run code and it will be reflected to everywhere. And also this thing you see, it is actually responsive. As you resize, it will get resized. Now it is side by side. Now it is side by side, and now it is on top of each other, right? Now it is here. And of course, if I change the color and all that, oh, someone the color and all that, you can write code here. Maybe some Python code. Trained high. Run your code. And then you can take notes here. Anything. Oh yeah. And also you can change the layout as you like. Maybe you don't need the text editor or something, so you can do that. Or just the
Pretty cool.
code and text editor. Any kind of combination you like, you can have that. This is all just plain React and
Yeah, that's
oh
so
yeah.
impressive. Like I remember we were talking about that feature like when I had the call, and then yeah, you literally coded that up in I don't know how many hours. That was so fast.
I
Like
think 2 hours maybe. Not
yeah,
too early.
that's
Like a couple of hours. Oh yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. But I mean, I have to head out now. I have to go to my sister's show that she's doing. But um, I really appreciate you coming and staying up so late to yeah
No, it's all right.
talk to us. And if anyone wants to
Thank you so
stay,
much. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. And also, if anyone has any questions, please do ask. I would love to hear your question and try to answer anything.
I
All
wanted
right.
to. I wanted to see your personal website.
Oh sure. Oh sure. I think
Yeah, I
we can
think
close
I
it.
had to leave for a quick second.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I have time actually. So this is the website. Okay, can you see? Malik.
Oh wow. Yeah, I can see. How do you do
So
how do you do all these animations and stuff?
this is all vanilla CSS, nothing crazy. And the gradient, you see the gradient, the lake color is changing, the horizon, the sky. This is not even CSS, just HTML. This is an SVG element. Do you hear some dog barking?
Yeah. I
I'm
hear
sorry,
the
actually.
this no, are you in like a Muslim country? I hear the this like adhan.
Yes, 5 a.m. It is Malik. Are you maybe
Fajr.
Muslim too?
Yes, I am.
Oh yeah, I am too. Yeah, the father
I used,
father Adhan is going. Yeah.
I used to live in Jordan, and I'd hear in the morning. I'd hear they over there, since it's like a Muslim country, so
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
broadcast
Anyway,
it to the whole neighborhood.
exactly. So yeah, this is the personal website. It is still on. The process is still ongoing. Okay. So this is a little bit about the service I provide: front end, back end, making our website fast, secure, responsiveness, and all that. That falls into this category. And then for the tools, JavaScript, TypeScript. I really love this technology, React.js for sure, and other technologies that usually comes along. For the backend, you have Node.js, Express. So you can have a look, hmshuvo.me. I will be updating this website and all of the other apps uh, very often. So yeah,
Wow.
and for the work experience, and this is the mentions of the my own company code face that I just showed you earlier, and then a company I work at as a full stack developer. It's a e-commerce. Oh, by the way, let me show you this. This is the company I worked at, and it's their website that I built. This e-commerce company. Okay, weekend trends. Okay, so this is the home page. Yeah, there's like you see there's no third party library or anything, promotional anything like that. It is just literally 5 lines of JavaScript. Okay, if you have time, I can show you. This is literally just 5 lines of JavaScript, and here it is the tracker. It is also just without any library or anything, just vanilla JavaScript. Okay, okay,
Oh
and
wow.
then basic section. And if you go to traces, there is some like animations here. This is also just CSS, nothing else. Okay, and you have some loading animations. Okay, and then pagination as well. And when you go to one simple traces, there's like change the color, view it, like all sort of stuff. You can, yeah, if you want to buy something, you will have to log in with the standard OAuth authentication system. Okay, we just log in, then you can add to cart and then buy now. This is the now you can like increment or decrement. You can confirm order, fill up the
Is this
form,
whole
and then
website in
order.
vanilla JavaScript?
No, not vanilla JavaScript, React.js.
Oh, I
And
see. I see.
I mentioned these animations are just JavaScript. I mean inside React, but just JavaScript, no other third-party library like Framer Motion or anything. I saw people doing like slider JS. They bring slider JS into this do this simple stuff, but I usually prefer to not to reach a not to reach a third-party library as much as I can. I mean, you can't just ignore React, right? It is the like core framework, but other than that, just try to stay away from third-party libraries as much as possible. I even saw people like downloading a library just to replace one lines of code. Literally, there is a I can give you example like is odd and then wait library. They have like 70,000 or 100,000. Thank you. Yeah, sure. Good night. So they have like 100,000 downloads every week, and the library is literally just one lines of code. Okay, and you can do
Oh
check
wow.
out here. So
So
yeah.
how did you learn like the CSS and the animation stuff? Because I know React and Vue, but I don't know. I can't make it look this nice and with the SVGs. So
Oh,
the SVG.
there is no SVG. There is no SVG. SVG is here. Let me show you the code. Actually, there's a lot to show. 1 hour is hardly anything. Where
Yeah.
did I? Maybe background. Any? Yes. So this is the code for my for the background of my website, right? This is the code that controls the sunlight and the gradation. You see like hardly 10 or 15 lines of code, and this is the SVG. You see just a linear gradient. This is the color gradient that actually uh, changes over time. This is for the sky, this is for the horizon, and this is for the lake. So three SVG elements, and not even no CSS, just is HTML and JavaScript. And what I'm doing here is setting the current time of the animations. Okay, so the current time is the how much you have scrolled. So if you notice like first now it's night, now it's at the top it's night. Now as you scroll down, the sun rises up, and also the color changes as if some dawn is happening, sun rising. But if you go back, sun will again go down. Okay, so it depends on how much you have scrolled so far. That is what you can see here. Okay,
Oh, I see.
like setting the set current time is how much you have scroll head ratio and all that. Setting the current time to the set current time. That's it.
Oh wow. How long did it take you to learn all these like I guess
This
it's like
thing.
basics, but I guess it's like basics for you, but um yeah, how long did it take you to like well obviously it's like one thing to know HTML and CSS, but
Oh no, it
it's
is.
another
I
thing to
mean,
be
yes, sure. But it doesn't actually work that for me. I don't think that it actually works like that for anyone. I mean, you just keep learning, and one time you realize, oh, I have, and like one day you realized, oh, I have learned a lot of things. Okay, it's not like okay, I
yeah.
learned specifically this, and it's more about figuring out these things. Yeah, I never learned SVG like you learn it not learn. Okay, I just figured it out when I saw, okay, I want to do this gradient, how do I do it? I just googled a bunch of stuff, and then I thought, okay, and then suddenly on a blog post or some code pen example, I saw people doing some SVG animation, and then I got the idea from there. And then took the idea from those examples, and then put my own tweaks here, and then just made it. So it's all about it is less about learning and more about figuring it out.
I see. How long have you been
uh,
doing this stuff?
uh, uh, as I said, early 2020. Although those were just basic. So, Daniel, come on, no. Most of my knowledge is not self-taught. All of my knowledge is self-taught, and I started from online resources. And as far as how long I have been doing it, since maybe early 2020, when the COVID-19 hit, I had really nothing to do. College and schools were stopped, so I just like going online and trying out different bunch of things, and then I just stumbled upon this web development, and I thought, okay, let us just give it a try. And then since then I'm here, and as I have already mentioned, by now I am working as a full stack web developer for 8 months, so professionally working as over 8 months now. Anything you would like to ask, feel free. I mean, I'm not in a hurry. I,
how old are you? You said you work at Weekend Trends.
You can search in Google. It should
It's
pop at the
SEO.
top of the. Yes, I did some SEO stuff as well. Although I'm not search weekend trends on Google. It should be at the top of the Google search. Did you get it?
Oh wow. How did you do the SEO?
Oh, it is by how do you do SEO? You just modify the meta tags and SEO stuff, and then you log in the Google Search Console. You like add analytics to your website, and then see how your website performs. Add the title, description, all the meta text that actually the search engine bots look for. There's a good article, actually not article, actually a lesson in Next.js. You can search SEO
Did you use
article
Next.js to make this, or just create React app?
in the well, I don't actually use create react app anymore. I use feed. Okay, but and for the my company website I use Next.js. Because perhaps I don't know if you were there when I was talking about it. When you do work in Next.js, like hybrid framework, you actually can do both your front end and your back end within the same project, in fact within the same file. Let me show you. This is the
Next.js,
React
yeah, I know Next.js is like it's kind of like full stack a bit, right?
full stack meta framework. Just let me show you an example. So this is the single dress page, I guess. Yeah, single dress page. So this is the code for the front end, React code. You see, this is the React code here. I am just
Yeah.
some JSX and all that, and right inside the file I have the backend code. Okay, I am importing the database, and then calling getting the products, and then setting the products, and then returning the products. So when you use some things like that, usually what you have a front end, and then you make a API call to the backend. That backend call another API call to the server gives the
Yeah.
data to the backend, and backend gives data to the front end. So many round trips. But when it comes to using meta frameworks, it is just all in the single CDN, so it is much more fast. If you noticed how long did it take for you to load the website? It is it should be much faster than usual.
Yeah, because it's like server side rendering. Yeah.
Hmm. Not exactly server side rendering. I mean incremental static generation. It is there is some nuances between that, but yeah, kind of like a server side generation. Oh yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people saying thank you. Yeah, sure. Really, it's my pleasure to be here. Virtual knowledge is still to dear for sure. Good night. I'm just landing in, but I got to go back to doing. Okay, yeah.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. This looks super
Thank you.
cool. Thank you so much for sharing everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you all. So it's my pleasure to be here, and great experience. If you still have any questions, or you wanna learn or say anything more, you can ask me, no problem.
Sure. Thank you so
Jason
much.
Keen, my pleasure.
All right. I gotta head out, but I think this Google Meet will stay up.
Oh yeah, sure. If you would like to have me again, I will be greatly honored to talk here again. No problem. Daniel Kamoth, yeah, thanks, my pleasure. Jason came recording, so I got to stick around. Okay, okay, you're recording, no problem. I am taking as well. So are you gonna end it now, or if there is anything I could contribute, you can ask me. No, so officially the meeting has ended. So since you just left, so if you wanna continue the meeting, or talking, or asking me anything, or just sharing, just anything, I'm availing myself. So yeah, but if you wanna quit the meeting, okay, no problem. Oh yeah, okay, okay. Again, thank you to all. Although it is just you, but since it is recording, everyone else will be hearing to it. So yeah, great pleasure for me to be here, and yeah. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to you, and good night to me.
Oh, just as a note, we're gonna be putting this recording up on like the YouTube channel. Do you also want like a copy of it, or would you just be okay with it being there?
Maybe just sharing the link with me will be all right. But perhaps we did some like will it be like whole recording or some edited version? I mean, we did some other chattering other than the actual presentation.
It's
Will you not
usually
edit?
it's usually like the whole thing. We've never had a reason to cut it down before.
Oh, okay, no problem. I really nothing, don't have anything to do with it. Yeah, and it will be great for me. I will be able to share the video with others so that if it makes sense or be helpful to them as well.
Okay, cool. In that case, yeah, thank you so much for being willing to. Thank you so much for being willing to speak to us.
Okay, man. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.